Alrighty. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live event. As we're kind of waiting for people to kind of come in here and vent in, let me ask you an icebreaker question, Troy. What is something that everyone will be really surprised to learn about you?
Besides the fact that I'm a cat lady,
Yeah,
they would be surprised to learn about me. Um,
I'm surprised you don't have one like just ready to fire off. I feel like there's a lot about you that
well,
people
there's
will
a
not guess.
there are. That's what I'm having a hard time with. No. Well, my first job, I was the Easter Bunny at the local dying mall that was close to me there, where I lived in Aurora, Colorado. So yeah, Easter Bunny.
Not even I knew that. That's
Yeah,
all right. Easter Bunny. That's a
bingo.
big Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
My name's kind of a mistake. That's a good icebreaker question.
Oh
How
yeah.
is your name a mistake?
Yeah, so I was named after my grandfather, but the whole story behind that is my grandpa. He was quite an older gentleman. He was born in the Depression, but his family basically wanted to name him Phineas, but they didn't know how to spell Phineas. Like, a couple of different options like how to spell it, and his dad Amber Alerts.
Yeah,
So
everyone's got that.
that's an icebreaker. Look for a if you're in Harnett County, if you're on the
If you're in
lookout.
Harnett County right now, better
Um,
check your phone.
but yeah, so he basically just said screw this, and he just named him Finn, Phin, just flat out, and then I was named after him. So
I also did not know that.
Yeah.
Dude, what? All right. Yeah, I mean, surprised to learn about me. I don't know if it's much surprise, but I'm kind of a nerd. So, I think my fun icebreaker, I ripped the sign off a Domino's wall because I used to work there. When we were moving out, the owners were like, yeah, man, if you can get off the wall, you can have it. We were just going to leave it here. So I got to take it off the wall, and I love talking about it whenever someone asks. So that would be
everybody
mine.
asks if you're on a call with Michael and you haven't asked about the Domino's sign, you're very far and few between.
Yeah, most of the time you guys commented on it. I love it. It's such an easy conversation starter.
I'd
But-
love to hear where everybody's checking in from.
Yeah. Where are we checking in from? Cool.
Are we local? Are we from Raleigh? Am I gonna walk out in the street and you're gonna throw some eggs at me? Are we in Florida? Are we in New York? Are we
The UK. Got some people
Yeah, that would
from
be
the
pretty
UK.
impressive.
Yeah. Oh,
Raleigh. Nice little Raleigh comment. From YouTube. Hello, Hilda. Make sure this works. Yes, it is connected. Perfect. All right.
good old Raleigh area?
I feel like, everyone that says they're from Raleigh moved to Florida, and everyone that says they're from Florida
Moved to Raleigh.
has moved to Raleigh. I mean, like everyone. Every single person. I'm like, where do you live? Florida. Oh, okay. Where were you? I was born in Raleigh, whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, I did that stint too, man. I thought the grass was greener on the other side.
Mhm.
Moved to Florida for 8 months, and that was a mistake. If you
I
ever
feel
decide to go to Florida, don't go to Clearwater. It's just a heroin infested. Never mind. I'm not gonna talk about that. It's not great.
Charlotte, that's further north than us. So we have some Panthers fans in the house, I believe. All right. Is that a rough subject? To
Welcome,
talk
Terry. And don't be shy, y'all. We'd love to hear from you. As interactive as this possibly can be, I think would be good.
Yeah.
I think we have a lot of points to cover today, so we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
For a lot of you that are watching this live, you can always back it up and listen to what we've got. But the real meat of it's going to come here pretty quick. And the goal here is really to show you what you can be doing today to differentiate yourself in a marketplace that is full of a lot of really bad actors, automating things that were trash to start with at a speed that they're not capable of handling. And honestly, how do you differentiate in such a marketplace?
Mm-hmm.
And so we're really just excited to talk to you today about what we're doing here at Growbot. So
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and pop up these slides here. So I just want to start off with view this kind of like Troy said as like a a LinkedIn 101, a learning experience. Like, how do I grow my business? Where do I start? What do I need to think about when
No.
learning? Okay, all this
Hold
stuff.
on. You got the wrong presentation pulled up.
Just not the right one.
Yeah,
you got the wrong one.
Crush your 2025 sales goals. That's the one in Canva. It'll be the third one.
Oh, I pulled up the wrong one.
It's
Oh,
okay. We have a lot of
dang.
content out here. So if you want to take a look at this one that we did a while back, you can
That's funny.
you can just go to YouTube, Grobot, Grobot. You'll find us on YouTube. There's a couple of videos on there. I never claimed to be a YouTube star, but I got a couple of videos that have at least surpassed a couple thousand views. So, you know,
Good catch. I never even realized I messed up on that.
We've gotten to that point. But hey, if you want to learn how to grow your business, just go to our YouTube channel. Or if you're streaming or watching on YouTube, you're already there. And don't click off of this. Do it after this.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We have created quite a few walkthroughs, so we already know what we're talking about. Like we've already hosted so many of these events. That we're pretty confident what we're talking about. Give it 1 second, it's gonna load.
Yeah, so once we get the right slides up, we'll kick butt and take names, chew bubblegum, as
There we
Duke
go.
Nukem said. Yeah, there
Sorry
you
for
go.
the dogs
So,
in the
it's
back.
really leveraging the AI and automation
There we go.
effectively in 2025 for anybody who is a quota carrying individual. This could be leaders. This could be, you know, that have teams. This could be an individual producer just looking for ways to improve their ability to get in front of their ideal audience and have a quality conversation. So, without further ado, we'll have Mikey take us through the first 5.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. You know, I really like. It's good to know I'm not AI, right? Like, like I can mess up. That's okay. All right,
we
so
trained him so well that he messed up.
yeah. You actually train me so well that I just make mistakes, so it looks more natural. So today we're kind of going to be going over and talking about why sales feel so much harder than they ever have before. You know, a lot has changed, but most people are still going by those old guns. What really used to work for them back in the day, like this is what worked. I don't want to change what I'm doing. It's like showing up to a VR tournament with a flip phone. Like you're just never like you're so outdated. You're not. That's just not how you roll. That's not what we do anymore. You know, the old car salesman stuff just doesn't work. So we're kind of going to go over why buyers have just completely rewritten the sales playbook. Like what is different? Why, how have they evolved? How do we need to change with them? And then why your cold calls are making people just hit block, or you're going into the spam super fast. You know, it's obviously, you know, a little bit of a secret. It is your fault, but that's okay. That's why we're here, right? That's why we're listening. That's why we're here to show you guys, listen, this is what we're going to do to be better. So there are 5 skills that we're going to keep relevant in your sales. How AI and automation are not here to replace you, just make you less terrible at your job. We're going to talk about why automation's key in what you're doing, but not just any automation. We're going to talk about how you personalize it, because just any automation is going to turn people off. You want to seem very personal. You want to seem likable. You want to seem like you're invested into the relationship. And then we're also going to talk about why social selling. So 3, not 5, sorry. Why social selling? Why is that so much better now than ever before? And how can you use LinkedIn effectively when social selling? So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, and then also the points here on the screen. But I don't want to just read you based off of what we're looking at. I want to be able to go through and, you know, talk about more things. Also, we are giving away Go High Level to 3 people. All you have to do is scan the QR code on the top right. Your name will get put into a hat. I'm going to spin the wheel here at the end. And if your name gets pulled, you get a free 12 months of Go High Level. I'll personally onboard you. I'll show you how everything goes, or Finn will. It's really easy, really simple, but we want to give you guys some value, especially for those of you who are staying to the end. Like, we want to be able to give this to you. There's no strings attached at all. This is completely free to you guys. All you have to do is give your email, name. That's it. That's all we're asking for. So just make sure you scan the QR code at the top right. I will pop it up a few more times throughout the presentation, just to give you guys a chance to be able to sign up for it, because we do want people to be able to use this. It's a really good value add. Now, if you're re-watching this later on, I'm sorry to hear that, but reach out to us. We're more than happy to try to help you, whatever that looks like. We do have a special deal going on that will be gone in the end of February, where you will have a $12 for the first year of Go High Level. So if you do want that, reach out to Finn. His email will be up at the end of the presentation. Finn will be happy to connect you or to talk to you about what that looks like. All right. And if you don't know about Go High Level, I mean, it is seriously one of the best CRMs I've ever used. If you're familiar with anyone else in the game, I would just throw all that knowledge out the window and I'd learn everything Go High Level. I'm so serious. They have everything you could ever need. I mean, I thought that all this, I've seen every CRM. I've seen everything. I have all the HubSpot verifications. I have all the, or not the verifications, the certifications. Thank you. I have all the certifications I could possibly need. We were spending a ton of money monthly on HubSpot at one point, and then we found Go High Level, and it completely changed the game for us. So,
and to explain what Go High Level is, right? Because there's a lot of things on the board there, but like the real value that comes from it, right, is a lot of CRMs are used as a repository for your contacts, right? So you're putting it's usually like a database. There might be some sequencing opportunities and tools inside of the system, but what Go High Level does is it basically gives you a place to not only house your contacts, but also build out custom automations, very similar to what you might have seen in something like Zapier, right? There's pretty much unlimited connections that you can do. You can connect it to your social medias. You can run advertisements out of it. You can handle all your payment processing through it. You can even host your website on it. There's a lot of capabilities that you can do with Go High Level, and it's very customizable. And as far as, the features that it has, especially on the conversational AI, email, and SMS side of things, there's a lot of custom integrations that you can do. So that's just where the value really does come from that. I wanted to explain that a little bit for you just in detail, but yeah, happy to walk you through what that looks like, and we'll have some resources as well to talk through that. But Michael, I'll let you go on to the fourth slide.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so as we kind of walk into this, we have a few quotes in here because we want to show you that, listen, we can talk the talk, we can also walk the walk, but there's also other people who are saying the same thing that we are. So nothing has really just changed in terms of, sales. We've changed as people. So you still need to get the sale done at the end of the day, but how it gets done is going to be different. So we have a quote here from Paul, and I am not even going to try to pronounce that last name. He's a CRO at One Global. He says, sales success is still based on trust. If you can create trust between the prospect and the salesperson, then good things happen. So trust is the core relationship. Why am I going to get a deal done with you? Why am I going to talk to you any longer? Well, because we have a relationship, and that helps that trust, that bond is there. And that's what creates the opportunity. So the only thing that's really changed is that we need to focus on building that relationship even more, because let's be real. How much different are you than your competitors? You're really not that much different. So you need to make sure that you are building a relationship with these people so they want to work with you. Your system might be great, but make sure that they want to work actually with you and not just someone else. Oh, this technology is great, but the relationship's kind of meh. Like, you always want to make sure you have a solid relationship with these people, because that's what takes it an extra step further. And then to back this up, like I was saying, we also have some statistics here that we can look at. So a few here that I like to point out are by 2025, over 80% of sales interactions, well, it says will, but have occurred via digital channels. So being LinkedIn is very heavy, right? So already by now, majority of the communications have already been happening. Everyone's still just talking and talking on LinkedIn. That's what it's about. It's about networking. It's about building these connections with people and building that personal relationship. LinkedIn's kind of that extra step that you get when you're out at business events and you don't get to hand out your business card. You go on LinkedIn, you connect with someone. That's that little bit of personalization you get to put in there. And you get to view it as a landing page. You get to say, hey, listen, this is what I talk about. This is what I do. This is what I'm about. And your first impression means everything. So not only the way you talk to people, but also the way your LinkedIn looks. And we're going to get into that a little bit later, but kind of laying the groundwork of why LinkedIn is so important. Mm-hmm. And there's an average of 27 engagements with seller-related content across a buying group, not just a single one, but everyone. Also, 80% of high-performing sellers use sales tech at least once a week. So we're already looking at people who are doing well. They're using technology at a faster rate than we can keep up with. So we need to make sure that we're evolving with people. Troy often says, if you're not ahead of someone else, you're behind someone else. So you want to be ahead of the pack, right? If you're not trying to innovate, you will always be falling behind. If you're not trying to find the next best thing, you will fall behind. If you stop learning at any point, you will fail. You need to always be learning and always be growing. The second you stop learning is the second you become old, right? I think it's every 20 years or you have to be at least 20 years old for something to be considered a relic or ancient if you go into like an antique shop. And so I think in sales, you multiply that. It's every 20 days. If after every 20 days, you already are still doing what you're doing, you're probably doing something wrong. It's already antique. People have already caught on to it, whether it's direct selling, whether it's social selling this certain way when you make a post and then you comment on it and then you interact with those people. Well, that may work now, but in 20 days, it's not going to work. So you want to make sure you're always changing, always evolving. And we think this is definitely how we're going to be doing it, is continuously using even more automation. I think that's just exactly what we need to do. And then moving on to slide 6 here, if you wouldn't want to take this over, I'll pass it on over to you.
Yeah. So I as a leader in the sales space for many years and an individual producer, I think there are 3 critical problems that are plaguing sales today. And the world has basically moved on from a lot of the sales tactics that I learned early in my career. And it continues to evolve at a speed that most sellers aren't keeping up with. And I like to think about, the Blockbuster example, right? Blockbuster thought, well, Netflix was not going to be really truly a disruptor, and just mailing DVDs to you wasn't necessarily the disruptor. But as soon as things went digital and Blockbuster wasn't prepared for that or had gotten behind, they basically lost all their market share overnight to streaming services like Netflix, right? And so I think sales is very much in that position today. And what Finn is looking to do today is address some specific problems and some of the remedies to those problems in a way that help you achieve your goals, because there's declining results on the same amount of effort that you're putting in today than there was yesterday and the day before. And so what are you going to do about it before it becomes such a problem that you're not able to reach your goals? So next slide. So the problem here, right? The problem is big. I think that getting a decision maker on the phone today is like trying to get into, one of those exclusive clubs that, just us normal people can't get into, right? And, reaching prospects is harder than ever. Cold calling is 37% less effective, as an example, right? And half of the meeting requests that are sent out are actually just ignored. They ghost you. They don't even show up for them. And so many people are drowning, especially executives, because they get reached out more to than anybody, in just very irrelevant and meaningless outreach. And so how do you make yourself stand out and differentiate in a marketplace where there's 4 billion pieces of content being sent every single day without more effort, right? And so that's problem number 1, is just the quality meeting drought, right? Problem number 2 is sales without consistency. The consistency challenge has always been an issue for salespeople. Even before digital avenues actually really worked. It was, are you going to make enough calls? And then when you get enough in your pipeline, when are you going to have time to actually make calls, right? Because I've got this huge pipeline of opportunities. I'm working the deals. And then I find myself in a situation, I've closed 3 or 4 deals. I'm really happy. I've got, some revenue coming into me as an individual producer. But then I have to start over, right? Because I didn't have a process that was running in the background. And so the consistency challenge has always existed. The problem is it's getting more and more challenging because less and less people are actually responding to you. And because of your inconsistency, it actually lets leads slip through the cracks and then other deals stall because you're being asked by your potentially your leadership to focus on more activity, and then what are you doing to fix those gaps, because you continue to lose opportunities due to the fact that you just can't be consistent. Everybody's dealing with the problem, but there is a solution. And then problem number 3, right? Many people are selling like it's 2015. And folks, if you didn't notice, it's 2025, right? And I feel like this is, again, like I'll use the flip phone example. It's like bringing a flip phone to a Zoom call. Like you're completely out of touch with what's going on. And cold outreach is actually being completely ignored by 90% of decision makers today. And so like the old school spray and pray approach, it's basically a spray and waste approach. Buyers, actually just like to engage with, if at all, with insights and not pitches. And so because 74%, of prospects choose the company that provides the most value first, you have to change your outdated methodologies where you pitch first, right? And you have to focus on how can I provide value to this person right now that would keep them closer to me when the decision-making process begins, so that I am their first choice in either reaching back out to or connecting with, and removing the transactional nature of this whole relationship. And so I believe that the third and I think biggest problem is the methodologies and how we approach business development that sets us up for closing business in the future. And it's really about trust and relationship. And I think we've moved so far away from it. Next slide. Today's market demands. Sales isn't about pushing harder. It's about pulling buyers in, pulling them close to you so that you can actually build that relationship. And the top companies aren't just working harder, right? They're actually working smarter. And this goes with the same thing for individual contributors and producers, right? Those people have ditched outdated tactics. They're embracing a lot of the data-driven insights, and they're utilizing smart automation. What do I mean by smart automation? It means that they're not just taking trash and multiplying trash and delivering trash. That's not what we're trying to do here. You need a strategy that actually gets responses. And so success today isn't about more dials necessarily. It's not about more dials. It's actually about more meaningful connections and a conversational approach. And so the takeaway is that you must evolve, or you will, and you are being left behind if you're not doing that. So, all right, next one. All right, thank you. So there are 5 essential things and components, and this is where Finn's going to pick up, that it's important for modern business development. Okay, winning in sales today isn't about just one magic tactic. It's about a complete, connected, and authentic strategy, right? And so it means that you have to have a systemized process that is going to set you up for success today and consistently day in and day out well into the future. And one that is certainly evolving as things come along, because we know sales looks very different today. I mean, if you would have talked to me about Loom messages or, reaching to somebody out to somebody on via text message, 20 plus years ago when I got started in sales, I'd have been like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? Like, that's just, it's inappropriate. The problem is it's really the only way that you can get people's attention now is to, again, meet them where they're at, because they're not just sitting in their email waiting for cold emails to show up anymore. That's not where they're at. And so you've got to change your tactics. So I'll hand it off to Finn now.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you for going through some of those. Yeah, as far as the components to this, right, we've developed a over 7-year strategy, over here at GrowBot on some of the frameworks for how to kind of change that mindset, right? And we talk about smart automation. It's really strategic automation, right? Like, how can we use that to supercharge the actual outbound side of things while also being concise and authentic and being genuine, right, to what we're trying to accomplish, right? And so I'm going to walk through some of those components now. First being, that selling really shouldn't feel like an interrogation, right? I've been on the other side of, I've been, as an individual contributor for even the W-2 I used to work, like I've been on that side of asking like the top 5 questions, right? Like, what's your budget? What's your like this, that, the other, right? And those are important questions, right? But if you come into it, instead of having some one-sided pitch and talking about how great your company is and you've worked with some similar companies, you got this amount of case studies, right? You'll come to find that your prospect cares less and less about how many people you've worked with. And they really care more about like, hey, like, do you actually care about what I'm going through in my own business? Right. And so the shift, right, is moving from like pitching to really exploring, right, what is actually going on within their business. You can go back. I'm still on the same slide. Right. We want to ask, the right questions, right? Uncover the real challenges that they're, dealing with, and also communicating with them in an ROI focused way, right? Like if I'm asking somebody a question, right, I want to ask them more about like their business, their goals, the things that they have going on in their life, build rapport at the same time. So you can ask the questions, to get the answers that you need to qualify them without necessarily interrogating them every step of the way and making it feel transactional. Just kind of, it feels awkward. If you focus on the long-term relationship, the short-term wins will come, right? And that's very important to understand, even as salespeople who are focused on like quota, right? Like you're thinking so hard about quota, right? Like if you build a long-term relationship, they might come back in 2 years because they just remembered how awesome of a conversation you had, or you made a referral introduction or something like that. I can go on to the next slide. And similarly, right, like most salespeople, like I had mentioned, default to that transactional approach because they are kind of checking check boxes, right, to keep up with their quota, right? So they'll use phrases like you can see up there, like, let me tell you about what we do, or, our features and benefits, right? Like they focus so much on the pain points and trying to scare their prospects out of whatever solution that they're using, that they're not actually asking about like, what solutions are you using? Is it working for you? Have the people that you've worked with, have they met your expectations in X, Y, and Z, area? If they haven't, like how much is that costing you? Right. But the conversational approach kind of focuses on that entirely. Not only just in the outbound prospecting side to get them off platform to have a conversation with you, but then we've also developed a framework for our clients to ask the right questions in a way that isn't threatening. And I have a lot of really just fun conversations with people, right? And I've turned more of those networking calls into direct business because I really was just asking, I'm just here to solve problems, right? And I also want to get to know you and diagnose, your business as well. So the best sellers aren't the best talkers. They're really the best listeners at the end of the day. You kind of become a therapist, if you will, or therapist / doctor / salesperson, right? That's really what you become. We can go on to the next slide to component 2. Right. As far as like selling, excellence, right? A lot of the time buyers are searching you up before they ever even take your call. And that could be like your website on Google, could be your LinkedIn profile, which we'll go into why optimizing your LinkedIn profile, if you're social selling on the platform, is important. It kind of becomes like your own little landing page if done right. But if your social presence screams like, oh, it's just another sales rep that's trying to, take my money, right? Then that's all you're going to communicate. Versus if you speak and, even if you're an individual contributor, like treat your job like it's your own individual business. You don't work for X, Y, and Z company. You are X, Y, and Z company. And so if you take that on and you personify that, right, you're going to act like the business owner, right? And as business owners, right, we want to solve problems. We're not just trying to sell. It's not about commission. Right. And so, you want to position yourself as someone who's trustworthy, not just walking through a pitch deck, and it means sharing real insights and engaging with your prospects in a meaningful way that consistently just shows value. And that's why we are going to talk about your social presence, because it really is your first impression, right? Like whether you're actively shaping it or not, make sure it works in your favor. Right. And so we'll get on to that slide right here. Social selling isn't just being about, being on LinkedIn, being online. Everybody's on LinkedIn. Well, not everybody, I guess, but a lot of people are on LinkedIn, right? but it's like, how are you communicating to the people that you actually want to reach out to that you are an expert, right? You know, the old approach was blasting a bunch of promotions, right? Like, hey, here's a post about how good I am and how great I am, right? You know, and sending out just cold connection requests with instant pitches, and you probably still get them, right? I get 1 million of them a day, right? Like, you know, and they typically reach out to me about like the same service that I have. So I'm like, okay, so you haven't even looked at my profile once, right? You don't even know what I do, right? And so the modern approach is really value first, right? I want to connect with you, right? I want to learn more about you. And just like, I tell people all the time, like, hey, like, I'm really big about building relationships on LinkedIn, right? And I'd love to learn more about your business, right? To maybe talk about like, I don't know, referrals, partnership, maybe it's direct work or like anything in between. Like, I'm open to all these opportunities. And I'm genuine in that because, you know, those will turn into future opportunities if you play the long-term game. The numbers prove it, right? Like, social sellers typically outperform their peers by like 78% and are 51% more likely to hit their quotas, right? So if you're not using social selling the right way, you're leaving a lot of deals on the table, right? Hilda was asking, are certain social platforms better for some industries but not others? Yeah, actually, I would say that as far as like we focus primarily B2B, right? And so we work with a lot of consultants, we work with a lot of contractors, enterprise companies, but typically in the B2B realm, right? If you're trying to sell shoes on LinkedIn, probably not going to want to do that on LinkedIn, right? You're going to want to focus on the social platforms like Instagram and Facebook to be able to do that. But we're going to move on to component 3 on the next slide, right? We're going to talk about your digital footprint, right? Like, what is it? Is it speaking for you in a good way, or is it, you know, speaking in a poor way, you know, on your behalf before you even open your mouth? You know, if LinkedIn used to be what you would call a digital resume, right? And most people use that to say, hey, here's my experience. This is what I've done to get a job, right? Well, that's great if you're just looking for a job. But if you're trying to social sell on LinkedIn, then your profile needs to not just list like your job titles, right? It needs to show that you can solve a problem. If you look at Troy's LinkedIn, you'll be able to see right off the bat, you know, who he helps, right? He's got probably one of the best LinkedIn profiles I've ever seen through strategies, you know, that we've all created here at Growbot as well. But, you know, you're trying to show in an authentic way that you can solve problems. What problems do you solve? And, you know, are you an expert? Are you posting content consistently that talks to your ICP, ideal client personas, you know, struggles that they might have? Do you offer solutions, right? Like, it's very important to also optimize it for like your profile picture. Your banner matters, right? Having custom links, maybe that go over to a resource that somebody could download for absolutely free while still collecting their information at the same time. So there's a strategic way to implement these things. But your social presence isn't just about you, right? It's about them. So make sure your prospects see value and not just all of your achievements, not that vanity. We'll go into the next slide, right? As far as optimize profile. Sorry. As far as like, you know, the profile transformation, right? When we optimize people's profiles, right? Talking through, you know, again, we're just reiterating, like, you're going to talk about solving customer problems, right? An optimized profile shifts the focus from customer to the outcomes and industry insights, right? So your real value, instead of just stating what you do, is, you know, showcasing some of your results as well. And that's super important. And that impact is 4 times more, you know, you'll find 4 times more engagement and 6 times more, you know, meeting acceptances just from the fact that your profile shows that you're an expert. And then you don't have to, like, what people tend to do is their profile isn't optimized. And so when they actually reach out to a prospect, what they'll do is they'll say the next message is going to be all the things that you do. It's like you're reading Leviticus on LinkedIn, right? And the truth is, right, like, if your profile communicates that, you don't have to say a word. You can say, hey, thank you so much for connecting with me. Like, I love to build relationships on LinkedIn. I'd love to see how we could benefit each other's networks or if there's any synergies. Do if you do it right. And that's something that we help you with over here at Growbot as well, as we focus a lot on the profile optimization side of things first. All right. Component 4, right? We're getting close to the end here. So as far as it comes to like the multi-channel engagement, we've found that, a lot of just automation platforms in general, and I'm not talking too much about our platform yet, but we've found a way to automate about 5 forms of communication all on one platform. And a lot of our competitors and a lot of salespeople that I talk to, a lot of companies I talk to, they might have a form of automation and they'll say, I use automation all the time. But what does that look like, right? Is it an email marketing blast where it's like, 6 emails going out and that's it, right? Are you automating, just SMS, voicemail, maybe other social media platforms, right? And what we found, right, is ultimately when you're trying to reach out to people on LinkedIn, you connect and you follow up, right? If you're sending 3 to 4 additional messages just straight up on LinkedIn, you start exhausting that channel. And so what I've developed is a system that is able to automate about 5 forms of communication, SMS, video, automated voicemail drops, email, right, and other forms of communication. And so we can stagger that outreach out a lot longer, right? So winning sales teams will coordinate all of these different features, right? That is like a seamless and personalized experience to their ICP. And it goes into targeting and other things that we actually consult and help strategize and build out these campaigns for you. The key is timing, outreach-based engagement with those specific signals to help approach to match, the buyer behavior, right? And so the modern buyer's journey isn't just a straight line, right? It's a bunch of different touch points depending on their behavior, right? It's a lot of if-then steps. And what we do here at Growbot is we help you deliver growth through automation in a strategic way while not losing that authentic connection. So I would be happy to talk you through more of those strategies because our clients find a lot of success. And you can look at my LinkedIn profile. You'll see some pretty nice logos on there that I'm pretty proud of. But we'll go into the next part of component 4. Sales is very dynamic, right? So not all channels, are created equal. And if you're only using one, as I mentioned, you're missing out big time. We have the ability to create personalized video, right? That will actually show your prospects LinkedIn in the background, right? So we can actually, automate some video components, right? So you can personalize while using automation, right? We've created that ability. LinkedIn does build credibility and trust. And so we walk you through a framework on how to use LinkedIn effectively, but then what happens after that? Well, we've developed AI that'll follow up and keep the conversation going on, even other channels, right? Like you can create a voicemail drop, goes right into your prospect system, right? And there's a redirect button. So like if they call you back, I get calls all the time, right? And it says if it's from my system, I'm like, hey, John, I already know who it is. And I know it came from one of my campaigns. We have SMS, right? And to strategically use SMS, not to book a meeting, but to see if you can get yourself an introduction, right? So using that to create kind of like that warm call, ability to give somebody a call, use permission-based openers. But like at that point, they've seen me on LinkedIn, I've sent them a voicemail, maybe even an email, right? So by the time I'm texting them, they're like, all right, who is this dude? All right, I guess I'll let him introduce himself. And that doesn't always turn into business, but it's a way to continuously just use automation to your advantage.
Yeah, one thing I would point out about the channel effectiveness is that what you see here is a percentage of replies. Obviously, not all of them are positive, right? That's just the way it is. But what happens is that when you compound all of these different channels together, right, and in one effective strategy, it actually multiplies each strategy's effectiveness, right? So like, for instance, if you send an email right now, you might get a probably 2% reply rate on a cold email, right? And nowadays they'll say that that's actually pretty good. And of that 2%, it's not going to be all positive. But what you can see here are some of the percentages that you're going to see through Growbot, primarily because it's one succinct strategy that's working together. And so, your reply rates not only go up just because you have more volume going out through different channels, but they actually improve the likelihood that you'll get a call back. So for instance, if somebody gets a voicemail drop, they may not recall you back, but they may now respond to your LinkedIn message that you sent, 4 days ago, right? And schedule that meeting. So they all have a compounding multiplication, effect on each other, because here you are, you're a real person, you're reaching out from all different avenues that's possible in an attempt to try to find the one or the two that person is most comfortable communicating in. Because, suffice it to say, some people are still comfortable with the phone. Some people are still comfortable with email. Some people don't ever go on LinkedIn. And so, the simple fact is, if you shoot them a text through SMS, they might respond there. So it's really just finding that one place where you can communicate most effectively with that individual.
100%. And that will actually kind of go into slide 5, right? So component 5, not slide 5, right? Like after you've handled all of this, right? You've optimized your profile. You've created the cold outbound strategy that is effective by using multi-channel touch points, right? You're trying to communicate in an authentic way, right? Like what happens next, right? Well, I'll tell you like firsthand, right? And it's somebody who also, gets prospected on. And I'm very nice to salespeople because as a business owner, we're all salespeople. Right? At the end of the day, we're trying to build our business, right? And so, if I talk to somebody and it shifts into like a sales conversation, I can tell pretty quickly, are they actually trying to solve my problem or they just want a couple bucks, right? So nobody likes a buy now sales pitch from somebody that they just met. Right. Like I think the old way of discovery, and like I'm just as guilty of it like 5-6 years ago, right? Like I used to just sell a platform. I didn't consult on strategy. I just like sold a tool. I basically sold a Netflix subscription that somebody could cancel at any time. Right. And so like I had to just continue feeding the system. Right. And I was, I get a lot of meetings now. Back then was crazy though. And, over time I kind of realized that the transaction, easy come, easy go. Like I could sell something, but like they have no real reason to stay loyal to me, right? And I would meet somebody, I'd demo the platform instantly. There was no discovery. I was like, this is what it does. It's great. Buy it. And they'd either ghost me or I get that 10%, that would commit. And, I'd say 50% of those people stayed long-term, right? And so that's how we evolved as a company as well, to consult. And those metrics have gone up significantly because I'm actually solving problems. I'm helping my prospects. I'm giving them value. And so the reason I say that is from my own experiences, right? Like if they just met you, like you got to build trust. Like it creates a lot of resistance in buyers that don't even owe you. They didn't even owe you the 30 minutes that they got onto that call, right? So the key is to deliver the value before you even ask for anything, right? Like share insights, learn more about what they have going on. If there's a problem that you can solve, or maybe even someone you can refer instantly. I just did this morning, right? Like I know somebody I could really help them out, but I also know another guy that could help them out in a different capacity. So I said, hey, listen, before our next call, before we go over like, this demo, I'd be more than happy to refer you to X, Y, and Z because it was actually in reverse. I was like, you can solve his problem beautifully. Right. So I want to refer you that business. And somebody it was another client I have a relationship with. So it's just clients and all these things. I'm trying to connect them to the right people. And so over time, when you develop that trust, right? Like I said, if you have a long-term play for a relationship, you're going to get the short-term wins regardless, but you also have to have the volume of those calls as well. And so we help with all of those things and everything in between there. And
yeah, so I would say you have to have a high value, low cost to you offer that makes sense for your industry. So I'm in the employee benefits industry as an example, which is a very saturated industry with a very low, success rate. I think on average, it's about 8% in the employee benefit space of companies that actually make a change. So close, loss, no decision is the typical answer you get in my industry. And that's because we all sell the same thing, right? We all sell insurance programs from 4 major carriers. What makes me different is that I don't approach it with, okay, well, let me quote it. I approach it with, let me diagnose where your pain points are. Let me do some free work for you. In my case, I do some benchmarking for my clients to identify potential hazards within their healthcare plan by looking at their competitors and how do you stack rank? Are you competitive? Are your benefits a way for you to attract and retain people? If so, how does that your current investment and your strategy reflect that? And oftentimes that reveals, by me doing a little bit of work, it reveals the fact that what they want and their actual strategy are misaligned. Right. And so how do we align those? Well, typically they'll hire me to realign those, right? Because they didn't realize they had a problem. And by me doing some free work, right, which doesn't take me a ton of time, I've now just shown them how I can actually solve an issue they didn't realize they had. And I didn't step into that selling. I stepped into that just trying to provide value and help.
100%. Yeah. Something similar that we do over here as well, right, is whenever I do a demo for somebody, in the discovery half, what I've been doing is I've been asking them, I ask them specific questions. I want to learn more about like who they're targeting, what is a client worth to them, all of these different types of things, some issues that some friction that they're having, with their outbound prospecting. And what I'll give them is kind of a tailored framework, right? Like I have a demo, but then I send them a document afterwards. I'm like, hey, like if we were to work together, these are the key ways that we would solve X and X problem. This is how we would do it. It's very quick. And again, using AI makes it kind of beautiful because I have a framework. I just take, the transcript and it kind of helps with that. But we do something very similar. For the final point on point 5, this is the next one, slide 21.
Let me interrupt you really quick. Just a reminder for everyone. I'm going to pop these QR codes. Again, there's community offers. We'll talk about here in a second. But on the bottom left, sign in to get the free CRM. I only have 2 names up here right now. So, literally, if you are the third person, you will be guaranteed to get a chance at this free CRM. Like you literally are guaranteed. We're giving away 3 licenses. So you guys need to sign up for it. I'm also going to put it in the chat. So anyone that wants to click on a link, if you guys don't have your phone next to you, or if you are watching on your phone, I just put it in the chat. If you guys need any help signing up for it, just let me know. But make sure you guys sign up for it before the end of this, and I'll get you on to the next slide right now, Finn.
Cool. All right. So, if you haven't signed up for it, go ahead and do that. So the old sales funnel is dead, right? Like if we're looking at the traditional sales process, right? Buyers don't typically move forward from like awareness to action, right? Like, okay, I'm aware there's a problem. Clearly I have to act now. And so I'm going to make a switch right now. Just because you want them to do that, they move when they trust you, right? And that might take a little bit longer than you hope for, right? But sales is also patience and listening. And so your goal should be to lead with insights, solve some of the little problems first, and then earning the right to continue, turns those cold prospects into warm buyers. Because if you're solving the little problems and you're showing that, hey, like I care at least enough to take some time and investment out of my day to even solve some of the little problems that I can solve, right? My company can solve the grandiose ones, but like in the unique way that I can help you, right? Like it's a give and take. Like I'm giving you my time to help with these small things and give you some value. And then you start earning the right to have that larger conversation. So instead of forcing the sale, you're building that relationship that could naturally lead to bigger deals, right? 38% bigger to be exact, right? So while also closing, 27% faster. And those are just insights that we have from all the data from all of our clients and them explaining like from their calls, their close rate and everything like that. So this is like real data that we pulled from our own ecosystem and client base. So ultimately, like give value first, and the sale takes care of itself. That's
and I'll add one additional piece to that. One of the things that I see is that you get a false positive because so many people they're automating things today. They're reaching out, they're doing cold calling, and you think because you want a client that you're like it's working. Well, I would argue that how much better it would work if you would run a process that actually people felt comfortable with. And I believe you would at least 5 to 10x your results. I'm speaking from somebody who has always been a bit of a disruptor, always been an innovator when it comes to the way that I approach things, a little bit different to what I usually get in my emails and what I usually see from a lot of salespeople is just, let me tell you how great I am. Let me tell you, why you should buy from me. Like, I don't even look at it. But if you were to reach out to me and say, "Hey, Troy, I took a look at your profile and you just seem like somebody I'd be interested in knowing a little bit more about," right? I'm probably going to read that. I'm probably going to connect with you. Now you've gotten one little yes from me. That's a little handshake, right? That I said, okay, well, I'll trust you a little bit. I'll connect with you, right? And then the next step is, hey, as a follow-up, I would very much like to get to know you. I feel like, connections are one place to start, but that doesn't really, help us create a relationship. So what do you think about a virtual chat or a virtual coffee? Right. And then, the percentage of people that are going to be open to that are going to be far greater than for you to just say, hey, again, I want to tell you how great we are, and I want to tell you about our product. Will you be down for a demo? Because that's typically when I accept people, and I typically get that pitch next, and I delete you immediately because I'm like, I'm just so offended that you would do that, right? Because I let you into my network, and everybody that you're doing that to feels the same way, which is 95% of the people that you reach out to, right?
And one thing that I've been running as well, and this has been a really great way for me to get out of the house and just meet people like locally. I've been very led to like do a lot of local based networking, which is, I've been remote my entire career, right? So I've been able to work everywhere. And one thing that's been hitting really well, right, is we talk about the virtual coffees, but I'm like, yo, like I checked out your profile. I think you'd be fantastic to just get to know a little bit better. Like, how about we just go get some food? Right. And like, I expect nothing from you. I'd love to learn more about like your business. And, it's also opened up opportunities for local, networking. Right. So like, they're like, hey, you should come to this networking event, right? Like you should come to here and we'll meet a bunch of other people, something that I would have never figured out, by going to, Eventbrite, like some like more local things. So you can also use, these strategies to create your local business as well as like more outscale, global, business. I believe, Troy, you wanted to expand upon the path forward as well as like the Growbot Support Biz, and then I'll kind of go into the actual platform of everything.
Yeah, each of these components is really powerful on its own, but the real magic happens when they all work succinctly together, right? So this isn't about adding just a few new tactics. It's really about building a systematic approach that is very personalized, but also scalable, right? And conversational driven that focuses on value first selling. So let's start with where you are. How effective, and I'd like to see some people comment there, how effective are you at implementing these 5 components that we just talked about, the components that Finn just covered? And do you feel like there's any gaps? If you do, type gap in the comments and then tell us what you feel like those gaps are. And then additionally, what would be possible? Think about your current process, your current close rate, maybe it's 10%, maybe it's 20%, whatever it is. If you were able to 5x your conversations, with new ideal prospects, right? And you just took authentic value first strategy. Think about, hey, if I still have the same closing ratio and I'm willing not to, do the malpractice thing, which is prescribed before I actually understand, right? How much more successful would you be? Mm-hmm. I'd love to hear from you in the comments.
Terry's got something that I think you should probably answer.
Pre-suggesting connections. Study a bit about them. Google linked and perhaps, yeah, I love that idea. Educate yourself on the individual before you actually offer something of value. So part of my process would be, I'm going to queue up, let's say 1,000 people that I think could be a potential, prospect for me based on all sorts of different criteria. The persona of the individual, what is their title? What do they care about? Are they active on LinkedIn? Are they new in their role? All these different things go into that. What's their location? What's their industry? So I build a very specific campaign to those people. It might be 500 people. It might be 1,000 people. And then what happens is they connect with me. And as soon as they connect with me, right, I go and I actually look at all those profiles that connect with me because I want to get to know them even further. And so I love that, Terry. That's exactly what I do. And it's the most effective way to do it. But until they connect with me, a lot of times there's really no opportunity. I could do an individual strategy for each single person, right? But what happens is I get busy, I'm traveling, I'm meeting with clients, I'm doing things, and then that individualistic strategy doesn't have a step-by-step follow-up, right? And so because of the AI that's built into these systems and some of the scalability, you can get hyper personalized with the outreach on automation, and then you can get very specific with that individual once they have connected or replied to you.
Mm-hmm.
That's been where I've had the most success. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is what I think, from a Growbot standpoint, they offer that's unique, right? I've experienced that they educate you on how to do it, right? Technology is great. Like, I've been a user of Salesforce, of HubSpot, of Zoho, of Pipedrive, certainly of Go High Level. These are all really good platforms. The problem is, how much actual education are you being given on how to use the programs, right? How is the strategy built into it? What I've experienced with Growbot is that they take all the confusion out of it. They help you create your strategy, and that moves you to the build stage. It's building the very specific strategy for you. So, like, I bought a lot of software programs that I had to figure out, right? And I had to figure out the strategy, and I had to figure out how I was going to reach out and all the steps. That's something that they do for you, right? They will actually build the whole thing for you just by buying the software, which just blows my mind because nobody does any of that. They want to charge you, $20,000 to build the strategy for you. And then the deployment is seamless. It's the software. Once the strategy is built, it's wash, rinse, repeat, right? Because there's going to be a period of time where you figure out, okay, did this work? And their team is going to help you dial it in and make sure that it works. But they've got experience across pretty much every industry that focuses on LinkedIn, and have case studies and examples and strategies that they've deployed for all of them. So at the end of the day, they've got a kind of a template or workspace that they're going to start from so that you can get started very quickly. And then again, it's about deploying that over and over to your ICP. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can kind of walk through that process a little bit as well, right? And this comes from honestly learning from our end, right? Like when I first created this platform, I sold it like everybody else. Like he's talking about the tech companies, I did it the same way, right? Because 2000, especially in like 2019, SaaS was like the big thing, right? Like that was like the opening. And there's now there's AI consultancies, and in the future there's going to be something else, right? And we'll stay ahead of that. But what I realized, like from my clients, right, is like I'd give them the tool, and I'd even give them resources. I mean, I'd give them templates and teach them like, how I was using it. But not, all clients aren't created equal. Right. And so what I realized was like, hey, I have an opportunity here to actually build out an entire strategy for somebody based on like their ideal client, maybe some even commonality. Like I helped somebody target someone on people on LinkedIn that are business owners that like fishing, just because he likes fishing. And the connection rate is so high because he's like, hey, I got another brother out here that likes to go fish, right? Like, what's your favorite fishing hole, for instance, right? That's just an example. But yeah, from as far as implementation, like when you buy the software, we go in, we help you build out your first 2 campaigns in the initial onset, everything from targeting to building out the actual campaign flow. And then we help you optimize them throughout the year. We'll even help you build a couple other campaigns and educate you along the way. Most of our clients at some point just tell us to leave them alone because they got it and they can duplicate the campaigns we've built, so, but you have that, support, as we're building those things out. And then I did want to go over to the next, well, I guess we've got the different QR codes that Mikey probably wants to talk through again.
Yeah, I think this is the education part. Is there's a lot of free resources available to you just by being on this webinar and listening to the Growbot team. These are all rich with the strategies that are actually being used, and a lot of the resources are completely free, including the community. The only thing I think you get with the paid community is you get all the tools that they're using, right? And then you also get access to all the trainings and the development and the strategies first. A lot of these things come out 30 days later for the free community. So you're still getting all that value in the free community. You're just not getting it first. And you don't have the direct lines of, one-on-one conversations and things like that with the team, unless you're a client. And so there's a ton of value in there already. I think you've got like 30 courses or something like that on how to do this properly. It's crazy.
And more coming out. We I also just finished a framework as well, because I want to help clients. I work with a lot of consultants and even small business owners that don't quite understand how to even sell their business, right? And so we actually help as well. I've built a framework on like the discovery call process and how to get like those virtual coffees and turn them into some kind of opportunity. What does it look like to properly give a demo or a proposal? What does it look like to kind of close those deals in a way that's more authentic, right? So we actually built out a framework as well for what happens after you book meetings. So we're kind of helping the whole suite of things. At some point, maybe I'll even fly down and teach some teams how to do it themselves. That'd be a great. I'd love to do that. But yeah, we those courses have everything that you need. Okay, well, as far as the, and thank you for kind of promoting that, but as far as the actual platform, right, I just want to walk you through it. A lot of people in the inbox over there. We basically use, single channel outreach has been outdated for a long time. And when, we first started this, we started on primarily the LinkedIn channel. There was no other channel that we used. But now we're able to hyper personalize automation through Growbot, the platform that I developed, to scatter the outreach out into just it's kind of like that one-stop shop for sales, right? Like you're using multiple forms of communication, right, to be able to stagger your outreach longer. Our campaigns last probably 4 times longer than any other campaign that you've probably seen from any of our competitors, right? Because if you exhaust one channel, after that 4th LinkedIn message, you're like, okay, dude, like chill out. All right. It's been like 4 messages in the span of like 2 weeks. Relax. Versus like, what would it look like for you and your sales team to communicate in a way that's authentic, right? The way what we've talked about this entire webinar, but what would it look like for you to be able to send a connection request? Once they accepted it, you send one LinkedIn message. Then you're able to enrich their contact information to find their email and phone number. And then you could send them a voicemail. And then you can send them a couple of emails to educate and inform them on like what you do. Then you can send a text message. Then maybe you have a step to give them a call. And then you send them another LinkedIn message, and then an email, another voicemail, right? And then maybe one more text message. We have a strategy in place that works really well. We actually have behavior-based triggers as well, right? Like if prospect connects within 5 days, they'll follow that linear path. If they don't connect within 5 days, well, now there's another option. Right now I can enrich the profile and maybe send them a voicemail and they'll go back and they'll accept the connection, right? And follow that channel again. And so instead of chasing leads, we really just help you engage with them, help you nurture the relationship and close deals at scale, all while making your outreach feel really personal and not robotic. And we have a inbox directly inside the system that it's a multi-channel inbox. So no matter where your prospect responds from, whether it's LinkedIn, email, text message, whatever, you can answer it all from like one inbox. And we even have the ability for like SMS and voicemail to redirect to your phone. I get people who call me all the time. It says like John Wayne from Growbot campaign, right? I might not even know what the campaign is, but I know his name. That's enough for me to have some kind of conversation while I scramble LinkedIn to kind of find out who this guy is. Right? But it gives you more opportunities, right, to be able to do that. If we go into slide 26, we'll just go into some of the acceptance and reply rates that we have. Yeah, wow, I'm really proud of that. I just look at it, I'm really proud of it. So as far as like the acceptance and reply rates, right, the acceptance, what we're tracking is from the amount of connections that you're sending, what is the percentage of acceptances through that? It's going to vary per campaign, and it's also going to vary based on your industry, right? There are some industries that are a little bit tougher and other industries that seem to be a slam dunk, right? But no matter what we do, we're trying to hit the metric. If we can get if we can hit the 30%, acceptance rate and a 20% reply rate, those are the metrics that we try to hit. That's as our baseline, right? And then as we develop a relationship with the Growbot team, we actually optimize those campaigns to perform even better over time. Maybe we change some verbiage. Maybe we, change the targeting a little bit, right? So it increasingly gets better. We do have a lot that go above that 30% baseline that we're trying to hit. But if you're thinking about it from like an email perspective, a 2% reply rate on email is great, right? Imagine sending 30 connections to somebody, 15 of them accept it, and 7 of them reply, right? Like, we're in the business of reply generation at the end of the day, not really lead generation. If I can get 10 to 20 people per day to reply to me, well, I'm going to be able to get somebody to say yes to a meeting to me, right? At least one per day, right? And I believe that we'll be able to show that even further throughout the slide. But those are just some of the rates that we have on the Growbot side of things. On the next slide, we do have some some testimonials from our Trustpilot as well. And these are people that we've been able to develop relationships with for a long time, right? So this is just some of the reviews that we have in Trustpilot. You can feel free to look at those as well. Got a lot more from where that came from. But these are actually clients that I also have developed a personal relationship with. My man, Tony Creed, we're going to go fishing at some point. I love that man. He's awesome. His entire business and his model is great. And that's what we talk about, the conversational approach. Like, I build relationships. Like, if I ever find my way in Brian's neck of the woods, you better believe I'm going to take him out to dinner. But he's also supported our nonprofit and things of that nature. And we're faith-based. We've prayed for each other, right? Like, these are just people that I met through like Growbot relationships that have turned into something more, right? And that's ultimately what you want from a prospect or customer relationship, right? Then Troy, do you want to go through how well you're evolving? You want me to just take it?
Yeah, no, that's good. I'll do it. So, I mean, things have changed, folks. If you haven't been paying attention, AI is seriously changing everything about everything. So, buyers expect personalization. You need to be using multi-channel engagement. I'm saying you need to be starting with valuable insights and sharing your ideas and your experiences freely. Because if you're still relying on those outdated tactics, you're already behind. You're already behind. But the good news is, my experience with working with the Growbot team has been that they bring all those insights for your industry to you by first understanding exactly what you do, and then helping you evolve that strategy that you've used so long that has been diminishing over time, and adapt that for 2025 and the next 5 to 10 years. So I think it's a time for many people to evolve. The big question is, are you willing to change, or are you're looking forward to being left behind? Because I think that's the choice. 2 choices. You either change or you'll be left behind. So, yep.
All right. And as we move on, I still only have the good men, Joseph and Terry, on this wheel. So I can still spin this, but I'm going to tell you, I know who the 2 winners are going to be. So let me just do it because I want to have some fun celebration spin on here. Let me go ahead and take this down really quick. Hold on. Present. I have to do this, Sorry, guys. All right, share. All right. Who's going to win first? It's really the race we have going on here. Is Terry or Joseph going to win first?
Terry and Joseph are winners. As far as like the platform perspective, I know we've got, we've run over a little bit, but do we want to walk through the actual platform or?
No,
we will not have enough time, but I love your enthusiasm. If you guys are interested in learning more, definitely reach out to Finn. Let me go to the next slide here, actually, because that will have all of our information. If you want to reach out to Troy, whether it be for benefits or just learning the next thing, go ahead and reach out to him. If you want to learn more from me, go ahead and reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you more about what that looks like, whether it be the CRM or Growbot. And if you want to learn more from Finn, reach out to Finn. We would all be happy to talk to you about basically anything. But Finn is going to be your main guy if you want to learn about Girlbot. He knows the ins and outs of all of it. He has done he's written most of the campaigns that we have. And, you know, I know that he would be happy to teach you guys. Booyah. Yeah, there you go. So, Terry and Joseph, I will reach out to both of you guys to set up and coordinate some time with you guys. With that being said, Troy, thank you so much for joining us today. If you guys haven't, please just go ahead, scan these QR codes, let me pop them back up for you guys. Whether it be subscribing to the YouTube channel, if you already watched it on YouTube, just hit the button below. If you want a chance to get into our full community, go ahead and scan the top left one. If you want to get into the free community, scan the top right one. Again, Troy kind of talked about it a little bit. The free community, really what it is we want to offer that to basically everyone. That's delayed, what we'll call delayed resources. You get them a little bit later, but when you're in the full community, you get everything right away. We go over what we call the strategy archive, which is basically we go over a bunch of old campaigns or even current ones, and we just talk about why that works, you know, the strategy and the language that we use behind it, and we'd love to give it to you guys and show you exactly what we did. On top of a ton of courses, and we're still making more. So that'll all be there for you. And even in the free one, we do have 2 or 3 that are completely available to you guys. So if you want to use it, scan the QR code, join up. Be happy to see you guys in there. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and sign off. Finn, Troy, is there anything else you guys want to add before we have a little sign off here?
No, happy hunting. You know, I know it's tough out there, so just keep at it. It's changing, but if I can be of a resource, certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm not hard to find.
Awesome.
Yeah, and as for me, you know, I don't have 8,700 followers. I have 9,800 followers. So get it right, Michael. You put it on there.
Oh, I did. Sorry.
Everybody give me to 10K.
We're almost at 10K. That's right.
I'm kidding. Thank you guys for showing up, and we will definitely hit you up with the free resources and just build a relationship from there. Build those strategies out for you too. If you know anybody that could benefit from this, I'm obviously talking to Terry here. We'll also incentivize you in a meaningful and monetary way for anybody that you believe would also be able to use these strategies as well. So thank you guys so much, and we're gonna sign off.
Yeah. Guys, and if you're watching this back after this has already been live, say you're watching the recording on YouTube or on LinkedIn, still feel free to reach out to us. You guys are more than welcome to do that. That's why we leave these up. We want them to be evergreen. So with that being said, hope you guys have a wonderful week and enjoy your time.